Hello, everyone. Welcome to Optimized for Humans. I'm your host, Usha Gubbala. I'm an executive coach and consultant, and this podcast is really dedicated as a notes from the field where I'm speaking with leaders from across different industries and organizations that are really focused on AI adoption and doing that in a thoughtful way where we make the most of the human and people power within our organizations and strategically leverage AI for the rest. Today, I'm really excited to be speaking with Joseph Sanchez. Joseph is a transformational leader with over 3 decades of experience leading culture, people, and organizational excellence across food manufacturing and CPG companies. He's currently the CHRO at Rio Foods, a legacy company, a family company, and he's also passionate about empowering and supporting Latin American businesses and Latin American business leaders. Joseph, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me today.
Thank you, Usha. It's a pleasure to be here, and thank you for having me.
I'd love to start by asking, how are you in your organization thinking about AI?
We're thinking about AI as a component help in differentiating ourselves. How do we build or optimize and become more efficient? Thus, that translates to our consumer. Reduce repetitive type work or work that could then that's hindering or repetitive in nature, and more leveraging people capacity and capabilities in a manner that's constructive, and helps us to continue to build out our legacy brand, Hispanic products, as we build it out throughout the country.
Awesome. I do think efficiency gains are a strong place to look in terms of AI adoption. So that's great that you're thinking about that. But I also love how you're thinking about how do you free up people to be more effective. And I'd love to learn more about that. So when you're thinking about that, how are you building up your people in a way that gives you the sort of highest yield from your people power?
Yeah, and you framed it well, right? It is people power, right? And it is about harnessing the collective capacity, the collective knowledge and experiences, and leveraging the tools that are available to us, that allow us to really grow the business, in terms of our product offerings, grow the business in terms of our capabilities and capacities. The term that really resonates with me is stewardship, right? And as a people and organizational leader, there is a responsibility for manufacturing product in a environmentally healthy and safe way, innovating and helping to build capabilities and capacity as it relates to our talent. And AI is a tool that I think is helping us to accelerate that. It's how do we integrate the tool? It's not about how do you remove people, but it's how do you integrate the tool to make us stronger, to make us better, to help us to differentiate ourselves.
Yeah, I think the growth focus you have within the organization, how you're thinking about AI is a really meaningful one. I think often the first and perhaps the easiest place to go to is around cutting costs and efficiencies. And of course, there is this question, and it is a reasonable question to be thinking about: do we need the people that we have in the organization? Can we reduce our numbers, and can we be more efficient in that way? And can we cut costs? But while I think that there is a place for that conversation, and that's a reasonable question to ask, I also think the better question to ask is the one you're holding, which is how can we free up our people to actually innovate and think about our product in a new way, and think about new possibilities around how we can actually make an impact and serve our customers, because they have all of this context that they're constantly absorbed in. And I think it's really about, can we take away some of the paper pushing and take away some of the repetitive tasks, as you mentioned, and can we actually enable them to do more of that thinking work? And I think that's a really wonderful way to be thinking about that question.
Yeah.
I'm Go ahead.
Yeah, I would say it's a craft, right? It's culinary flavors and that translate from Mexico. I mean, our original founders were from Jalisco, Mexico, with a dream, never losing that spirit, that passion, that level of entrepreneurialism, but leveraging the tools that are available to us that will allow us to continue to grow that dream. It is something that continues to resonate within Del Real Foods, and in November we were acquired by CMI. In here we may know them for their Pollo Campero restaurant business, but it was about bringing two families together that had a dream, right? A dream of being able to share culture through food. Um, so never losing that spirit, that passion, that entrepreneurialism. It really is the American dream coming to life and extending, passing the baton, right? And how do you most effectively pass on the baton to the next generation, leveraging tools, leveraging the knowledge and the capabilities and the passion around our culture and where we come from, and then sharing that across tables, across the entire country.
I really love the way you even the way you speak about this. There's such a people element that's at the core of it, where it's really delivering this experience of a particular culture to, from people to people and through people. And it's a really I just love the like how human it is for you and how you're framing it in such a deeply human way. And I think I think as AI kind of takes over, for the lack of a better word, more and more of our world. I think the human element will be more and more premium.
Hmm.
There's recently, there's a bit of a controversy happening right now around an AI actress that they've recently released, and a lot of other actors are, like actual human actors, are pushing back against some of that. And the thing that really stood out to me, and honestly, this AI model actor was exceptional. Like I couldn't tell the difference if I was just staring at the screen. But I think I know when it comes to art, we will actually value and treasure the human experience as part of that because it's actually the messiness of that creative process that we value in art. And I see like a hint of that in how you're talking about it in the business sense as well. It's actually about the experience you're delivering to your customer, not just of the culture. And again, from people to people, rather than just like, here's a product, here you go. What's the bottom line and how do we maximize it? And yeah, I just really appreciate that.
Yeah. Yeah, I think in AI, right? I mean, there's a prompt, and behind the prompt, there's a human element, right? There's that the human story is being told or predicated, right, by way of what instructions are being given, right? And then it's a format that now allows us to do it in a manner that's much more efficient, maybe even more artistic, right? Or ways that allow us to express it much quicker. But at the end of the day, I'm trying to figure out how do I express myself. So the tool's helping me to develop that concept in a manner that's much more efficient and um, but still true to the human element, right? And so I'd say that is a good way of depicting on how this whole integrates into our business world and how we utilize it, but it's never absent of the craft, right? It's never absent of the what I feel when I walk into our plant and I go back to my childhood days and walking through the streets of Guadalajara and going into the mercado and the scents and the people and the interactions. That is who we are, and that is why we do what we do, right? We never lose that. Question is, how do we build out? How do we scale our business so that we can reach as many tables as we can in the most efficient way and leverage the collective knowledge, genius experiences of our people and
Yeah,
consumers.
yeah. How do you think leaders should be thinking about, to go a little bit deeper into that, there's this question of sort of how are we allocating our time? How are we allocating our energy? How are we allocating our resources? And with AI coming into the equation, there's a real opportunity to reimagine what that looks like. And how do you think about that? And how do you suggest leaders think about time, energy, and resources?
Yeah, that's a very powerful paradigm, right? And time, we know that we have it, how we spend it, and really what is our objective? What's our why? It goes back to stewardship and truly caring about our organization, and understanding why we do what we do. And I think as leaders, we look
Yeah.
for ways that we can generate the collective knowledge and experiences of, and I know I've mentioned that a couple of times, but it really is about harnessing the human capability, capacity, knowledge, experiences, and then leveraging the tools that are available to us. AI being one of them, right? But there's a lot of other technological tools that allow us to do that, so that we can scale and we can do it efficiently, which then translates to, our consumer being able to receive a high quality product that is authentic, that is good for you, that you can enjoy and spend time with your family, friends, right? Celebrating, and doing it in the most efficient way. But never losing sight of, our why being around people. That that's never going to change, right? A machine or whatever prompt we're able to write. Again, it's the one that's doing that is a human being, right? And then the machine or the technology is helping us to give us the output of what we may be trying to create. So craft would be a center. Our food is a craft that was done through the culinary experiences and expertise, right? The seasonings, the spices, the stirring. The same thing goes into our business model in terms of how we run our business and how we use the tools that are available to us again.
And I think this scales across different businesses and industries, this advice around really keeping your why front and center. And the why is about your people, regardless whether you're a business of one or you're a business of hundreds of thousands of people. At the end of the day, the people you are serving people. You're in service of a customer who, for the most part, in this moment, is people. Even if it's not, even if I'm like selling a software to a company who's eventually, their customer is eventually a person. Like we are in the business of people serving people. And I
Yeah.
think really starting with that why helps us reimagine the time, energy, and resource piece in a much more meaningful and thoughtful way,
Yeah,
than
I love what you
otherwise.
said. It's we are in the service of one another, right? On a daily basis, regardless of what role that we play. Um, our best outcomes are when we are in the service of one another, and that really is what, to me, stewardship's all about, right? So
Joseph, you've mentioned this term stewardship a few times now, and I wanted to ask you, what responsibility do you think leaders have around stewardship in this arena?
uh, the definition, right, of stewardship is responsibility. So responsibility in terms of our people, always at the forefront, and then how we actually effectuate change and leverage technology, encompassing all of the things that we talked about today, Usha, which is how do we continue to evolve, as a business, incorporating the collective knowledge, wisdom, experiences of our people, um, and moving the business ahead. So being a frontline leader, educating yourself, being familiar with what tools can be utilized to help to enhance your business, and then involving your team, your people, to help you to bridge that opportunity, right, or to bridge gaps that may exist within your business or industry.
Yeah, that really resonates. I think there's definitely an element of this disruption that's about embracing what's coming and doing it in a as thoughtful a way as possible. Um, One of the things that I think we really need to embrace is the fact that this disruption and this change is actually being shaped by leaders across organizations. While the tech companies who are creating these tools hold tremendous influence around this, I actually think that every single one of us who's using these tools and as leaders making decisions about how the organizations are using these tools, I think all of those decisions actually add up to create this change. I think it's far more grassroots than we're really imagining it to be. So I think what you're saying around stewardship and really being thoughtful about that, and as well as embracing it and empowering people to embrace it, I think is really meaningful and important for every leader to be thinking about and stepping into, because it is something that is affecting all of our lives, and it's important to, I think, step into that in a thoughtful way.
Yeah, very much so.
My last question for you is, what's one piece of practical advice you would share for another senior leader like yourself who's thinking about AI and is unsure where to start and how they should be thinking about it?
Yeah, I think we're on the frontier, right? Where this is something that is evolving. It is, well, it's evolving very quickly, and yet it's very new, right? And so I would say that familiarize yourself with it, become aware of what tools are available, what tools are relevant to the business that you operate, and how can you integrate those such that it helps you build the org effectiveness, right? There's so many of them that are out there, and I'd say you have to be in line with what your strategic objectives or strategic initiatives are, and then identify those tools and resources that are available, just like you do anything else, right? As you look at your business and organization, you evaluate what capital structure, what type of investments you're going to need out there on your production floor or in your business. You're also now evaluating and assessing tools that are technological in nature and how you can incorporate those into your business. But again, never losing sight of your purpose, your why, and such that your time and energy are moving the needle forward. I mean, that would be my suggestion. That's how I approach my role.
I love that. I love that kind of starting with the why, keeping that front and center, and then really thinking about and embracing this and experimenting with it, I think, to some degree, to see how you can actually move the dial on the things that really matter. Joseph, thank you so much for taking the time to have this conversation with me. It's been a real pleasure. I have a lot of appreciation for the human-centric approach that seems to be really baked into both your approach to this as a leader and, from the sounds of it, from your organization's philosophy around how you lead as well. So thank you for sharing a little bit of that.
Yeah, the pleasure is mine, Usha. And again, I thank you for the opportunity to have this conversation with you. Thank you.